Okay, take it away, Lourdes.
All right, everyone. So as we move into the hackathon, I'd like to first go over what the purpose is of this. And so what we'll be doing is our conference here, the LEAPS Conference 2023, has people from policymakers, fashion industry partners, textile recyclers, researchers, educators, and students. And so many of you are from various disciplines and various fields. And what we're trying to do is just combine our expertise together. And we want to take advantage of this opportunity, which the conference provides us as we gather here. And we want to think about how we can work together across organizations, disciplines, and geographic locations to advance political and structural solutions to textile waste through conversation. So defining the political, the structural. So what are we going to focus on in particular? So for this particular hackathon, we want to first distinguish the political and structural solutions from individual level solutions. So there's various levels when trying to dissect this issue of textile waste. There's the individual level, there's also the more structural level and structural solutions. And the latter is something that we will be focusing on much more. Such as that which is like systemic in nature. And so that would include making changes to industries, organizations, governments, laws, and community norms. So while ideas and interventions that are for individual, family, or small group adoption are important, we really want to focus on the bigger scale of how can we interrupt and build political movements to make changes to the systems, creating the problem of textile waste and allowing the problem to continue and grow larger. So just thinking about how we can address the systems. And so the particular prompt is, how can stakeholders from across disciplines and from around the world come together to reduce the amount of unwanted textile waste generated in Europe, the US, and other locations in global north that is sent to communities in the global south? In other words, the textile waste that is being generated is coming from Europe and the US, and then it is imported into the global south. And what we want to think about is how can stakeholders from various disciplines come together and try to reduce that? So some of the questions that we will be thinking about is, one, if textile waste is diverted from the global south, where will it go and what would be the impacts? So if we're not importing it, or rather, if it's not being exported to the global south, where will it go instead? And what will be the consequences of that? Number two, textile waste is more likely to be disposed of in landfills, open air dumps, incinerators located in communities of color and lower income communities, even if these communities themselves are generating less waste. So how does your proposal address this environmental injustice? Number three, if your proposal does not appear to be politically feasible at this time, how will you build a movement and popular support for this proposal? How could it gain more support for that? And then number four is, how will the voices of those living in communities that are most impacted by textile waste be centered in your movement and in the development and execution of your proposal? Which, put in another way, is how will these communities that we're trying to serve be included, be the center of our work as we think about a potential proposal? So the manner in which we will do this is through breakout rooms, where we will be 3 to 7 members in a breakout room, just so that people can meet each other and new people can connect. And the assignment is to get to know each other, to find overlap between our interests, our expertise, our work, and our goals, and to create a proposal which addresses the questions that I just went over. And what we really want to do is foster a lot of conversation, a lot of connection and communication between all of you through these breakout rooms, and be responsive to the prompt. And we want to emphasize not to stress, because the purpose is not so much a result per se, but more of the process of thinking about how together as a community who comes from various disciplines can collaborate in order to address these kinds of issues. So this is not intended to be an activity that creates stress for anyone. We only have about 30 to 40 minutes to work, so the proposal doesn't need to be fully formed. There will be a short presentation after, so just presenting the ideas, which will be 2 to 3 minutes per presentation, but it doesn't have to be exactly 3 minutes. We just really want to hear the kinds of conversations that you're having with each other. So you'll have between 30 and 40 minutes to work in groups. Then we'll send a time warning when you have 20 minutes left, 10 minutes, 5 minutes left, and 1 minute warning. And if there's any questions, please message us, directly message DL or any of the conference planning team members. And I, myself, and Cecilia will be dropping in and out of breakout rooms in order to be of assistance and service to you if there's any clarification needed. And then we'll come by your breakout room. So to clarify, the first deliverable would be an innovative, yet grounded proposal. So something that's well-formed enough and creative that addresses these issues. And then the second deliverable would be, again, a 2 to 3 minute team presentation to the full conference, just talking about your proposal and the kinds of ideas which were manifested. And here's the hackathon prompt link, tinyurl.com/leaks-hackathon-prompt. And now we'll go into breakout rooms.
So in our last 10 minutes here, I just want to kind of go back to our hackathon activity. And I wanted to open this space for either breakout group 1 or breakout group 2. If either of you want to share anything about your conversations, or if there were any ideas that emerged in terms of like a direction for action or a proposal. You are certainly not required to share, but I wanted to create the space for anyone who wanted to share anything from that activity.
I could go ahead and share, and if Jocelyn, Cecilia, or Janice would like to pitch in, then please do so. So we first started to talk about the structural systems which makes enforcing policy really difficult, and the fact that there is a business aspect. Of course, there's the environmental aspect, but then there's a third aspect of power and politics, which can make it very difficult to have the inevitable negotiations between countries, which allows for the ban to be created, but also to be enforced. So we started talking about the struggles on the structural level. And somehow we made our way to talking about, Janice had this really nice proposal about, we talked about how board games, our board game, the one that we designed in the Aftermath Learning Lab, is for around middle school age, upper elementary. And Janice had offered this really nice advice and this suggestion, which was to give the kids some kind of like bragging tag, where she kind of talked about how sometimes students will read so many books over the summer in the library, if they have like some kind of like, I don't know what she called it, but like this like collection of beads or something that they hang on their backpack, and it's a kind of a dialogue starter, and also it's a bragging tag at the same time. So maybe if we were to have our board game, which is to educate people on textile waste, if we were to have those in curriculums and schools and libraries, perhaps we can use that and have like some kind of bragging tag where if they, have played a board game, they can have like this sustainable thing, like made of bees or something that they could hang on their backpack, which would, kind of open dialogue. That's kind of what we talked about. I don't know if any of them want to pitch into that, but yeah.
Can I just add one thing? And you're very kind in recapping that. And of course, I don't want to create more waste, right, with this brag tag trinket. I feel anybody that's been involved with today's program has done a phenomenal job. You folks are relatively new to me. I found you through a library about a month or so ago when you folks did a presentation there. I'm hopeful that your recordings from today can get to a bigger audience. I'm in my 50s and I think I donate and I think I make smart choices, but I could be doing so much more thanks to everything you have educated me on. So I'm hopeful that libraries might be able to pass your recordings along. They have great, they're great advocates on many different programs, even if it's not a live and it's a pre-recorded event. But you folks are just a great group of individuals. And we also did talk about, yes, educating at a younger age group. And then, who knows, maybe a youngster will come home from a school program about this, and then they talk to their parents, and then it just keeps flowing from there with everybody being able to make some small changes in their buying habits and consuming habits.
Thank you so much, Janice, and thank you so much, Lourdes, for those reflections. And it sounds like you had some really kind of deep and powerful conversations in that. Even the short time, I know we didn't have quite as long for the hackathon as we had hoped, but and thank you so much, Janice, for those suggestions about amplifying. And as we wrap up, I will be sharing some ways for everyone involved to kind of stay connected with us and kind of contribute to the growing body of work that we and our partners are involved in. But amplifying this conference and the recordings is a really amazing thing that anyone who has a network that might be interested, that would be very much appreciated. So thank you so much for bringing up that point. So I know we only have 5 minutes left, and so I do have just a few wrap-up comments, but before I get there, I just want to give one more chance if anyone else from the hackathon wanted to offer any reflections on what you talked about, or any kind of wrap-up thoughts about the conference.
I can share really quickly what we talked about in the other breakout room. So Kate and I were with Simin, and she had told us how she was working on like multi-dimensional curriculum studies. And so we thought that would be a really interesting spot for a lot of convergence between kind of advocacy and, curriculum, because there's a lot more than just what you read in textbooks and, worksheets you work on in class. Curriculum includes like the behaviors of teachers and students and everything like that. So there's a lot of chance through education, especially earlier education, to create kind of cognitive changes around the ways that students and children look at the environment and their relationship with it. So we just had a very interesting talk about how you can kind of implant these kind of ideas into schools and into curriculum to create those changes early on. And I thought that was just very, very fruitful coming from kind of an education background. So it was very nice to have that discussion.